Good Monday afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. Breaking this afternoon, the Department of Justice confirming to Kare 11 that Vance Belter, accused of stalking and killing former House Speaker Melissa Hortman, her husband Mark, and their family dog, will not face the death penalty. Both the DOJ and U.S. Attorney agreed that the interstate stalking charge would likely not meet the federal requirements to be death penalty eligible. Therefore, prosecutors decided not to seek that sentence. A DOJ spokesperson told Kare 11 that, quote, bringing justice to the families and loved ones of victims of violence is the #1 priority of the Department of Justice. Prosecutors worked hard on this case to make sure he was held accountable to the fullest extent possible. Belter also shot State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette and ran from police for days before he was caught last summer. This afternoon, we're getting a closer look at the destruction left behind by a powerful 7.8 magnitude earthquake, which struck the southern Philippines earlier today. Take a look at this video showing terrified elementary school students crouching outside as the ground beneath them shook violently. The quake killed at least 32 people and injured more than 200 others. Rescue crews are now searching through damaged areas as officials work to determine the full extent of the destruction and confirm the total number of casualties. Authorities say several buildings collapsed, with additional damage reported in nearby coastal villages after tsunami waves nearly 3 feet high hit parts of the shoreline. Right now, here at home, community members are pushing back on the city's plan for George Floyd Square. Protesters gathered in the square at the same time as the road construction began this morning. The controversy has been brewing for months, but last week, the City Council's zoning committee voted to reject the mayor's supported proposal for the People's Way. That proposal was put forth by violence interrupter group Minnesota Agape Movement that wants to build a 6-story building with a cafe and a museum at 38th and Chicago. The City Council Zoning Committee argues Agape has no real estate development experience. They also say this plan lacks buy-in from the neighborhood. The city officials did attend meetings held by the community to talk about the city's plan, but business owners and residents say that experience felt more like a presentation rather than a back-and-forth engagement with the community.
I want the process to be better. I think that they should pause and actually do some community engagement, get some clarity and a full plan behind all of this.
The full City Council could vote on this issue as early as their meeting this Thursday. Now, if they reject it, the city could either make a new recommendation or scrap it altogether and find a new developer. This afternoon, state leaders, including Attorney General Keith Ellison, are joining workers at MSP in calling for safer protocols. Drivers and kitchen workers with LSG Sky Chefs say they have safety concerns about their workload. They're in charge of the meals on flights and do a lot of their work on busy tarmacs. We will have a crew at that press conference, and we'll bring you the latest details tonight on air and streaming on our app. Developing today, Iranian military says it is halting its offensive operations just hours after Iran and Israel began trading fire Monday morning, threatening to drag the Middle East back into an all-out war. NBC's Richard Engel has the latest from Jerusalem.
Iran and Israel exchanged fire overnight and into this morning in the first direct exchange since the April ceasefire. An Israeli military official told NBC News that Iran launched approximately 30 ballistic missiles at Israel, nearly all of them shot down. Israel responding within hours, attacking at least 7 locations in Iran, describing them as military sites and a petrochemical plant. There were no reports of any casualties in Israel. Iran also not reporting any casualties. Iran says this began, that it launched the ballistic missiles because it says Israel violated the ceasefire by continuing its attacks in Lebanon, specifically carrying out a strike on 2 apartment buildings in Beirut on Sunday. Last week, President Trump brokered a deal to try and prevent Israel from attacking Beirut. Now President Trump is trying to de-escalate this situation in a series of posts this morning, calling on Iran and Israel to stop firing immediately, and says that peace talks are still ongoing, barring, quote, ignorance or stupidity. Richard Engel, NBC News, Jerusalem.
Also happening overseas right now, China's leader Xi Jinping is on a two-day visit to North Korea. It is the first time Xi has visited in 7 years, and it comes just days after Kim Jong-un talked about building a bigger nuclear arsenal. Now, this is video from their last meeting, which was in China last year. It's believed that North Korea has gained access to Russian technology to advance its missile program. Xi is expected to urge Kim to be more open to talking to his neighbors on issues including denuclearization. Right now, a manhunt is underway in Toledo, Ohio, for the two men who shot 12 people at a street festival this weekend. This is video from the scene on Saturday. Authorities say officers were at the Old West End Festival when two suspects started shooting at each other. Thankfully, all 12 victims are expected to be okay.
I don't know what could have been done. People are asking for answers, but I'm asking for solutions. I'm asking for people to turn in any witness statements that they have. Some people have innate evil in them, and they are there to do evil. That was a situation that shouldn't have happened.
Police are asking the public to send in videos or pictures to help find those shooters. This afternoon, 6 people are in the hospital. One person is in custody after a stabbing spree at New York City's Penn Station. Officials say one person's injuries are serious, the others are mild to moderate. Right now, law enforcement officials say it appears the suspect had a mental health episode and that they have not found any ties to terrorism. Penn Station is the busiest transit hub in the Western Hemisphere, with some 600,000 passengers coming through each day. Today, the trial begins for the man accused of helping kill someone inside Bar Zia in Minneapolis. This is video from the scene, which happened back in October. Prosecutors say video shows 24-year-old Dantrell Clark punching the victim several times on the dance floor before the alleged shooter, Alonzo Williams, fired several shots. Investigators say the two men are part of the Lowe's Street gang, while the victim was allegedly involved with a rival gang. Clark is facing second-degree murder charges. Now, you may remember this tense scene that happened a little more than a year ago. Protesters clashing with federal agents as they conducted a raid of a restaurant in South Minneapolis. For the very first time, we are hearing from the only protester charged in that clash. Federal prosecutors initially charged Isabel Lopez with several felonies, including assault and obstruction. But court filings now show those charges have been downgraded to a single misdemeanor. And as Nasir Akelvi found, Lopez's account of what happened is very different than the federal record.
It's been over a year since this Minneapolis neighborhood was first rocked by a federal raid and ensuing protests.
I went because there was a community call out.
The tensions of the raid are still being debated, but one thing is clear. What happened next was...
It was mayhem. When I got there, there was people honestly running around.
Isabel Lopez became one of those people running around. And according to the Department of Justice, much more.
I think it was honestly a brawl against the federal government and local people that live there.
A brawl that resulted in the federal government charging Lopez with assaulting, resisting, or impeding federal officers.
There's a lot of footage out there that day. There's a lot of footage.
The DOJ charges state that at one point, Lopez was standing on a trash can to block federal vehicles, a claim Lopez doesn't dispute. But that's where the agreement ends. The charges state that Lopez fell into the trash can and federal officers, quote, helped her up.
That's not what happened at all. I'm 5'2". These guys were at least 6'2". Had to be. And I know that they knew that when they went to go grab me and they slammed me on the ground.
The criminal complaint goes on to allege that Lopez punched, kicked, and shoved federal agents. It also accuses her of throwing a softball that struck a Hennepin County Sheriff's deputy. Lopez admits to throwing the ball, but disputes who it hit.
I picked it up, and it hit a civilian, so it didn't even hit them.
Days later, federal agents moved in to arrest her. Prosecutors say she punched an FBI agent in the head. Lopez describes a very different encounter.
There was 3 federal agents that came from the back, and I didn't see them. So they came, like, one was here, one was on the other side, one was from the back, and I didn't know who they were. And immediately they came and grabbed me.
Now, more than a year after the confrontation on Lake Street, Lopez's charges have been downgraded from multiple felonies to a single misdemeanor. She says the case has changed how she does activism, but not why she does it.
Things are really hard right now, but that's why we have community.
Lopez's case is still going through the federal courts. She has a plea hearing set for later this month. Well, this afternoon, we're getting an update on the next No Kings event here in Minnesota. Organizers say on Sunday, dozens of cities will have watch parties for a benefit concert featuring Jane Fonda, Patti Smith, and Bette Midler. It's called Rise Up, Sing Out, a concert for the First Amendment. Here in Minnesota is scheduled watch parties in southeast Minneapolis and Savage, as well as Brainerd. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.